Okay. Okay. Whew. Okay. So, there's a lot of, we call it, a lot of energy around at the moment. Okay. So, we said last time, maintain your own frequency. This is what we just want to repeat because so much happening. So much happening. Okay. It's going to continue. You know this now. We say. Continue. So, you have to maintain your frequency. Please. Get away from the noise, get away from the news, get away. Shut down whatever you need to do. Take a break, go on holiday, sit in the garden, sit under a tree, breathe in, breathe out, whatever it takes. Most important thing now is frequency, your frequency, maintain it. Okay, so let's repeat. Because it's important to remember from last time. People get sucked into all that is occurring so much. Okay, so big question. Should I take the COVID vaccine when it comes out? Okay, so we have to address this in different parts because there's different answers to the question depending on the person asking, and we mean this deeply, sincerely. Okay, so truth of all things on physical reality is that nothing can harm you, hurt you, change you in any way, shape or form unless you are willing to be harmed, hurt or changed. Why do the yoga masters able to transcend the physical realities of the world? Because of this truth. You are vibrational frequency, and if you can manipulate your frequency far enough away from that which you are taking into your system, then you cannot be harmed, hurt or changed by anything that you put into your system or is done to you in a physical sense. So that's the first thing. Because it would be false to say that this is not a truth. This is a truth. But here's the problem. Most people aren't functioning on that level of truth. We know this, right? So they are a reason why they are called masters or yogic priests, whatever you wish to call them. There's a deep and wide. It's not just yogic. It's the native specialists of all manner of ancient histories where the people were established in the doctrine that you can transcend reality. Of course you can. Your energy. That's the number one thing. Your frequency inhabiting something that looks incredibly real. So it would be false not to mention that it is absolutely possible to take the most poisonous substance on your planet, and if you had the ability to shift your frequency, nothing would happen to you. This is fact. Okay. Is that a fact for most people? No. And here's why. Most people aren't functioning at a frequency, a comprehension of frequency, let's say. A comprehension of frequency, an ability to shape their frequency, manipulate their frequency at a level to transcend physical reality. So, given that most people aren't there, we have to deal with where most people are. And most people are functioning in a world where reality exists. The notion that what is done to you in a physical sense is real. Okay. So we have to go there because the facts are most people are living in that reality, which is, by the way, quite normal given that you came to Earth to experience life in a physical form. If you did not want to be physical, you would not have come. So transcending the physical is not the be-all and end-all of existence. In this particular occurrence, at this time, many of you maybe wish that transcending the physical was the be-all and end-all of existence. Okay. So here's what we want to say. There are going to be different solutions for different people to pass through these times. Now, we always have to come back to the understanding that this time is about the birthing of the new era, the transition from the old to the new. If you forget that, you fail to understand everything that is occurring on all sides of the equation. The vaccine coming out, there are many, driven by profit and greed. That's a fact. Driven by profit and greed, no question, no doubt. Let's start with that. So, I think that there is a general comprehension in most people that are probably listening to this message, at least, that a vaccine is not necessary. Let's put it that way. I'm not saying that that's the belief of the population at large, but anybody who is ready to hear this message is probably already aware that, at the very least, a vaccine to cope with the virus that is being called COVID-19 is not necessary. This is fact. Whether you wish to go further and talk about all vaccines, we maybe say that for another time. But you see, there are many layers and many levels to conversations about what is vaccine. If we stick to just for today, the idea of a COVID-19 vaccine, anyone listening to this conversation right now probably already knows it's not necessary. But you can see the rhetoric mounting up, and you can see the propaganda mounting up, and you can see the potential, at least, for situations to arise at which you are worried that maybe you will not have the choice of whether to take or not, or maybe you will be put in a situation where the choice is still no choice due to the way that they wrap the coercion, let's say, up. So the truth is that there are going to be different answers for different people depending on where they're at. Now, if you are fearful of the virus, and many are, not saying listening to this message, but externally there are many people, huge fear over the manipulation of the way that the current so-called pandemic has been presented. There's lots of fear. Now there's a saying to be had that anything that assuages that fear is going to be good for mankind. If you are in the throes of fear and you believe this vaccine is going to protect you, save the planet, save your loved ones, whatever it is that's driving you into this fear, well, there is actually a claim to be made that would say that taking the vaccine may be a positive idea for you. Because trust me, right now, the biggest problem this world has is fear. Every single moment spent in fear is another day dug deeper into the dirt and the sludge that is being thrown at this time in order to try to prevent the birthing of the new era. As you know, it's not going to happen. The birthing is already done, we just have to get there. But all the fear, the fear energy that is being manipulated into being, even if it's a manipulated event, the fear is real. The fear in the people, the way that they are emanating this frequency of fear is real. And that is what is causing the problems on the planet. So we have to alleviate that fear one way or another. There are, at this time, too many people for us to that are caught up in deep fear of the virus, still of the virus. Now, for people listening, perhaps that seems ludicrous, but they exist and they're real. And they are worried for themselves, but they are also worried for loved ones or for the elderly or for. For those people that cannot move to the side of that fear, to allow objectivity in, to allow a semblance of honesty and truth in, I was going to say that there is a legitimate call to say that they should take the vaccine, because the fear that they're emitting is more dangerous than the vaccine that they could take. Here's why. In a fearful state, your body shuts down. In a fearful state, your stress on the physical symptoms that your body can show are manifold. All of those symptoms and those repercussions of fear, of stress, of worry, of anxiety are going to do untold damage to so many people in the immediacy, but also stretching into the future. If they believe taking a vaccine is going to save them, save their loved ones, and that will remove the fear, the stress in their systems can alleviate, preventing the long-term damage to the physical being that they are. So for those people caught up in the fear-mongering that is occurring, I'm not going to sit here and say that they should not take the vaccine, that it would be the worst thing that they could do. Because despite all the stories, despite which we will get into, of what the vaccine is and what the vaccine does, right now for the planet, alleviating this fear is the most important part. When we can move through the fear into something semblance of hope, into something semblance of normal. Why are they destroying the word normal? Something that we can move with hope into the future with. Then there's all manner of opportunities and freedoms and light and joy and ease to move forward into the new era. Right now, the mud, the stickiness, the dark heaviness of the fear is swamping out any opportunities for easy, flowful moving into the future. So I'm not going to say, for those people that are caught up in the hype of fear-mongering over the virus pandemic, not going to say they should not take the vaccine. If it will alleviate the fear, that would be doing more for their systems than anything else, and in turn, therefore, doing more for the planet than anything else. So let's park those people, assuming they're not going to be listening to this message that much. At least for some people listening, if you know people who are really caught up in the fear of this time, you might be able to relax in yourselves to say, you know what, alleviating that fear energy, removing it even from their systems, from the taking of the vaccine, maybe in their best interest right now. So maybe I can stop feeling that I need to get through to them, or I need them to hear me, or I need them to change their opinion, or I need. Everyone is sovereign, everyone is individual. You are allowed to breathe in, breathe out, and let go. They are responsible for themselves every bit as much as the collective is responsible for itself. There's no one without the other. You cannot be responsible for anyone else until you are responsible for yourself. So these people caught up in the drama, the fear, in a huge way, to the point where they will not leave their house. They will not partake of living. It is perhaps arguable that the vaccine for them is a way out of the heavy fear that they're in. That's the first thing. For the people listening mostly who are not caught up in the huge fear, you may have some fears, sure, but you're not caught up in the fear of being sick from the virus, let's say that, because there's different fears going on right now. the fear of getting sick and dying from the virus, if it's not particularly a fear that you're holding right now, then you're questioning the damage done by the vaccine to your systems if you are forced to take it, because you've already probably made the decision that you're not going to voluntarily take it. Okay, so there's many questions to this, there's many answers to this, I should say, but the first thing to say is breathe and relax. You are tapping into fear with every thought that you're having. You are therefore contributing to the reduction of the opportunities for evading the whole of this topic that you could be experiencing. Every time you drill into the government's desire to force me to do something against my will, how is there any lightness in that conjuncture? How is there light going to get through to that? There is none. So you have to be able to step to the side of that in order to create the opportunities that mean the whole of this topic are avoidable. What do I mean? What do I mean is that because the governments are rushing, do you see this as a sign of panic from you or from them? There's no question it's a sign of panic from them. No question. Why? People aren't scared of the virus enough. People aren't scared of the virus enough. They have to pull it out now, because give it another 3 months, another 6 months, no one's going to be scared of this, because the numbers are going to be so damn low, it's over, and they know this. So they're in the panic. Don't join them in the panic. Let them panic on their own terms, please. Don't feed the panic. You don't need to feed their panic. Let them go. You step to the side. Step to the side. The drive of this, the panic of this, is because if left much longer, there will be absolutely zero ability that they have to force people anywhere in the world, willingly or not, to take the vaccine. That's fact. Okay. So, your necessity right now is to not get into the nuts and bolts of being forced to do something against your will, but rather than raise your frequency of love, of light, to the point that this scenario, reality, call it what you will, shifts and changes and crumbles away. How does this happen? You don't need to know. You just need to shift your frequency fast. Yes? Don't drill into something that you don't want to have existing. Find an alternative way to shift your frequency away from it. What do I mean? I mean lighten up. How do we lighten up right now? You get away from the manipulation that is occurring everywhere you look. You see, it's all fear-driven, no matter what stage of the narrative you enter. Do you enter at the fear of the virus? Do you enter at the fear of the vaccine? Do you enter the fear of it being mandatory? Where any access point to the whole of this narrative right now is fear. And there's only one way out of it, and that's to avoid the narrative altogether and find your own. If you drill into the narrative of all that is occurring, whether it's fear of the virus, fear of the vaccine, fear of mandation, whatever it is, whatever level, if you just drill into it, you are accessing your own fear point and contributing to the narrative. In that space, there is only one reality that can play out. Theirs. You want your own reality to play out, shift your frequency away. Shift your frequency away. Look to the alternative solutions and drill into those. They exist. Look into the way that the people in their droves are speaking out, are coming out. Doctors, politicians, they are coming to the light. Look at those, drill into those. That's the frequency we need. In the doing of that, you will raise your own frequency. Watch this vaccine narrative fall apart. If you don't believe that's possible, it's because your fear is so invested in their narrative, you are contributing to the story they want to tell. Do you want to be a part of their story, or shall we find a new one for mankind? Isn't that what we're here for? Light bearers bear the light to usher in the new era. You create a new reality with every choice you make to avoid their fear and step into your own love. It cannot be plainer than that. And it doesn't matter what point you access the narrative, if it's a narrative of their choosing and you are engaging in a manner of fear, you are contributing to their narrative. They don't care where they get you. They've got you at all standpoints if you enter their narrative. Should you be scared of the virus? No. What virus? No. Should you be scared of the vaccine? No. What vaccine? No. Should you be scared they're going to mandate the vaccine? What mandation? No. There is no mandate. No. What should you be doing? Well, look at all these people coming out and speaking out, putting their lives on the line and holding up a new narrative ready for the world to see. Look at these numbers. They're falling. Look at these numbers. There is no test that works. Look at these numbers. The vaccine is ridiculous. Look at these numbers. Look at this truth. Look at the honesty. Look at the evolution of light that's coming through right now. Look there. Look there. Don't be a pawn, if you will. Because when you own the narrative and you don't care how people enter that narrative, so long as it's fear-based, you're in charge. Make no mistake, any time you access their narrative, it's from fear. You need to step away from their narrative and create your own. This is how the whole vaccine issue just crumbles away. You're in the era of transparency. All darkness brought to light. It is shocking, it is harsh, it is going to be humbling, it is going to be difficult. But it is purposeful. You cannot move to the light until you have eradicated the dark. The history of health in the last few hundred years has been one tragedy unfolding after another. Of course there's light, and of course there's optimism, and of course, but the narrative, as I keep coming back to, the projected narrative from the authorities that wish to control mankind, control the story that you are listening to. It's not a health debate. It's not a health issue. It's a sickness issue. It's a sickness debate. Why is everybody that's promoting real health on the fringes? Because they have not been allowed into the narrative of health from the authorities that wish to control you. Because there's no controlling in the alternatives. It's sovereignty. It's taking responsibility for yourself. That's the answer. But when you see a doctor and you pop a pill, there's no responsibility there. There's no sovereignty there. You're accessing the narrative of the authorities that wish to control you. There is only sickness to be found. All alternatives, when you step to the side, that seek to bring healthfulness to you, are doing so from a space of responsibility, sovereignty, your own being. Take the choices, make the changes to discover healthfulness for yourself. It is the exact opposite of what has become the sickness industry. Well, all of this, I'm afraid to say, has got to come to the light. And here is a big part of it. Here is a big part of it. So, right now, if you are entering into the debate of working out how do I block the mandate for vaccine. You're still entering. If you're in fear, I will say, if there's a possibility to enter into that from a space of love, I say difficult for people right now. If you're entering into that from a space of fear, then stop. Just stop. Just stop. Go to the light. Go to the light. Look to the light. Look for the stories emerging. Look for the truth emerging. These vaccines have been rushed. That's a fact. These vaccines are driven by greed and money. That's a fact. Those vibrations are not driven by the light. So those vibrations will not exist as the frequency of the planet rises higher and higher. So you tell me, what's the best solution? Engage in the fight or raise the frequency higher and higher so that these frequency vibrations of greed and manipulation and sickness, the vaccine for this virus, can't even exist. Can't even exist. When you're hooked into the fear of it being a mandate that you will be forced against your will, when you're hooked in, you're dropping your frequency to their desired level where they know they've caught you in their narrative. Their frequency remains. We don't want their frequency. They've had free reign for long enough. There will be a shift and a focus where all darkness is brought to light. This is the times you're living through right now, be it political, be it the sickness industry, be it every which way you look, the financials, it's all coming to light. It's shocking. It has to happen. You get to choose your frequency. The better you choose, the faster all this nonsense disappears. The faster all this nonsense disappears. Don't engage at the level they want you to engage at. Fear. Choose your path of love and light and find your own narrative to build. There is a lot of alternative narratives out there to champion, to get behind, to replenish your frequency, to freshen your frequency, to raise your frequency. Look to those. Look to those. That's the most important thing right now. That's the most important thing right now. If you can look for options and alternatives and what you might call wins and all these things which are coming out. And remember, deep in your core, when things are being rushed on you, forced on you, it feels like it's being pressured on you. It's a panic. That's their fear. Huge fear right now. People are waking up all over the goddamn place. Look for them, see them. They're there in their multitudes. The harder they push, the faster they wake. And yet there is no alternative but to push faster. Now you work on that mathematic problem and tell me who's the winner. You need to go with light. You need to go with love. You need to lighten up. Lighten up. You are here for a reason. You are not here to engage in the fear. You are here to breathe birth to a new day, a new era, a new dawn. And you can only do that by going inside yourself and raising your frequency of choice. It's a choice. Look to what makes you feel good. Look to what makes you feel hopeful. Look, and bear that hope. Please. Accessing their narrative at any point is just contributing to the fear, and we do not need any more of it. You're here for a purpose, and that purpose is light. Get back to your light, get back to your love, get back to your hope. Breathe in, breathe out, share it. In that space you are unbreakable, in that space you are unshakable, in that space you are the new era. Much love.